Welcome, fellow magic makers, to another episode of It's Magic. kashOptix back at you again with another episode where I show you how to catch those oohs and ahs every time you unleash something. So let's get those create juices flowing, hop inside a blender, and we got a lot going on for this particular one here. I'm in 2.9. I would definitely recommend catching that 2.92 update, recent release. Loads of new features that you're definitely going to want to check out. First things first, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Bump our color settings down there. Turn on our ambient bloom and screen space reflections. And let's go ahead and first things with Shift A to add an empty. Plain axis will do for now. We'll need him later, but just leave it there for now. And Shift A again and add a plane. And let's make that 10 there. Hit tab to enter into edit mode. I'm going to right click, subdivide, and we'll go 10 on that as well. Alright. I don't really need to worry about that for right now, but alright, hit 3, or you can come up here, get our face select, and we're going to inset this right now. If you hit it once, it'll inset the whole shape, but if you hit it one more time, it'll do each face that you have selected there. Right around halfway, somewhere around there. That should work for what we're doing here. And I'm going to hit P to separate this by selection. Then we're going to tab out of edit mode, and it'll have both of these selected, so you'll have to just go back in and select each one. I'm going to go ahead and rename them to make them easier. We'll call this box, and we'll call these beads. I'm just hitting F2 to bring up the rename dialog. You can double click over here as well, or you can right click and not there. That gives you some options. Alright, now I'm actually going to, if you have both of these selected, one cool thing, you can still pop into edit mode with both of them selected and edit both at the same time, even though they are separate objects. So in this case, since I kind of dropped the ball on that, it works. Gives you guys a chance to learn something maybe new. Alright, I'm going to move these down a little bit, hitting G, Z, and -7. And it might be a little too much there. We'll do that. And about there's fine. Alright, I'm going to actually move these guys up just a little bit so we can see what we got going on later here. Alright, now let's go ahead and add another mesh here. I'm going to shrink him down just a little bit. We'll make it 6. And tap into edit mode there. And once again, since we're in edit mode, we can move this around, and that'll keep the origin of this object right at the same spot there. And I'm going to go ahead and move him over there on the X, rotate it 90 on the Y, and then a little bit towards us on the Z axis, or Z, depending on where you're from. Move that in just a little bit more so it's nice and snug there. Tab out of edit mode. Alright, now we got half of a scene kind of going, right? How do we make magic out of that? Let's find out. First off, we're going to go in here to our box and let's jump into our modifiers. Let's add a solidify. And we'll go with a 1 on that. And give it a bevel for a nice realistic look. And if you hold shift, that'll give you more minimal increments there. I'm going to go probably about a 0.012 with that and give it 2 segments. If we zoom in here, we can kind of see. We got some fancy stuff happening. Nice clean velvet edges there. Gives us a nice realistic look, and it'll help with the light catching a little later on once we get there. Alright, now we got almost that set up. Let's add one more. We're going to go to mirror modifier. And instead of the X, we're going to go Z. And since we've got our origin point there, it'll automatically put that right up there. Nice and neat for us. So we're going to kind of utilize that trick there. And we'll do this again. If we could duplicate and link the modifiers, but we're going to have a different setup here, so we'll just redo it kind of on our own here. Alright, let's go with 0.1 here. And let's go with 0.2 actually. And you'll see why in a second here. Like that, and then go to subdivision surface. I'm going to give it 2 just so we can kind of see. I'm going to right click and shade smooth so you can give a little better idea. Depending on how it's looking and how you're wanting, you can go up to 3 if your computer handles it more, but for this, we'll just keep it at 2. Alright, and then one more, we're gonna give that mirror also, so gets it nice up at the top there. And this side here, we're gonna go into tab mode here. If you hit Control R, that'll give us a loop cut option here. I'm just gonna give us a little something, so we've got something interesting. Give it 2 there, and then Control B to bevel that. Bring those out, and then E to extrude back a little bit. Just gives us a little something for the light to catch, something unique or whatever. Don't have to, personal preference there, but alright. Now, since we've got that one side set up already, we can set this up. If you select this object, then hold Shift Select on the box. Press Control L. You can link your modifiers, and the only thing that we're going to want to do, since we've got a Z, we don't want it on the Z, we want it on the X. And I don't really need that. Oh, oops, helps if you go back and select the right object there. Not always perfect. Alright, now that we got that, let's minimize our solidify there quite a bit. Don't need much of that. Alright, now that we've got that, it's pretty much our section of the scene there. So you're going to want to select these objects, holding Shift while I click on them there, and hit M to move them to a new collection. I'm going to call it Section. Enter there. Now, we can Shift A to add in a collection instance, and go to whatever you named it there. And it'll drop it right there, but I'm going to hit GY10, since we know that plane is 10 on your measurements. That's why we made it nice and easy there. Alright, now that we've got that dropped, I'm going to Shift D, Y10 to drop another one there. Then you can use Shift R to repeat the same function. I'm going to hit that a bunch of times there, give us a bunch of sections there. Oh, 13 should do it. And maybe one more. For giggles. Alright. Now, got us a nice looking tunnel set up. Turn off the overlay there. Let's get into our camera view and set that up. I'm going to hit Alt-G, Alt-R to reset that. RX90. And GY -5. Move it back a little more. Let's see how far back we can go here. Bump the perspective down there, maybe 30, 20 look good? Yeah, we'll go with 20 for right now. Alright. Now, let's go into these beads here and give these a fun little modifier. Using that empty that we did there. I'm actually going to bring these guys up a little more. Let's see here. Alright, select my beads here. I'm going to jump into edit mode, move those up a little bit so we can have some more fun with it, just so you can see more of what's going on. Jump back into our modifiers here and collapse these. Alright, we're going to add a displace modifier. That's going to be fun. That's going to let us manipulate this quite a bit and make some magic in motion. Alright, add a new texture there. And let's jump down into this texture. You can kind of see the matching icons there to help you out. And you'll go up here, and let's go with clouds. That gives us a nice texture to work with for starters. I'm going to shift this one down to hard, and we're going to want something fairly large. I'm going to go with 1.6, probably a little bigger there. 1.83, kind of. This will be the texture that is used for the displacing. Might not be able to tell too much right now, but give a second, you'll see what's going on. Alright, that'll be going crazy there. You're going to want to tone that down a little bit, but to get that to the object there, then we're going to want the empty to control that. That way, if we select our empty and rotate it, that can control the displacement on there. Really fun feature. Use that quite a bit of different, quite a few different creative ways, I'd imagine. Let your mind go and see what you guys can come up with that. But for right now, we're going to tone that down a little bit instead of the 1. Oh, I'm going to go with a 0.15. Yeah, just a little bit of it. So we don't go too crazy on it. Alright, now let's pop back into our camera here. And let's get some animation going on here. Keep it 250 for now, just so you guys can kind of see what's going on. And first things first, we'll set a keyframe here. This particular one, when you're doing this displacement, it can get out of hand real quick. So instead of doing a full circle, especially on a shorter time frame, I would recommend just doing a little bit of movement back and forth or something like that to get a nice little loop. So I'll show you what. Put a keyframe at 0 here. I'm going to shift right arrow and then one more on the right arrow. And get another keyframe there. This will give us a seamless loop there, so we don't have any duplicate frames once we go around. And pop anywhere in the middle. If you want to go right in the middle, you can. You don't absolutely have to. It just depends how you want the motion to go. Actually, for this one, let's go, I'll show you, to kind of give a decent back and forth. We'll go 15 on this one, put a keyframe there, then we'll go about 2/3 of the way, and we'll go a -15 there. And if you're done, hover over your mouse down here. One quick tip that I love to use quite often, hit T, make sure that's linear. That'll give us our interpolation options. And look there, we kind of see, we'll bump that up so you can see more of what's actually going on. That gives us a nice, cool, trippy little morph displacement option there. Bring that back down a little bit. Alright. Now let's animate our camera. We've got them at the -10 for right now. Let's get it there. And since we're on 10 10M meter increments, we can keep it with that. And I'm going to shift arrow, right arrow one more time. And we'll take that to 10. So it moves 10 forward. And if we shift left arrow to get us back to the beginning, we've got us a nice loop going on. Awesome! Really starting to notice the lag in my computer. Loop should be a little better than that, but you guys will see. Alright, cool. Now we got some magic motion. Let's really make their jaws drop and get into the shading. We'll pop into the camera, make it easier here. And we'll get into our rendered view. Be completely dark for right now. Let's start with the sides. Gonna add a new material in there. Make it a dark gray. Almost dark there. Metallic, somewhere around the middle. Let's see here. Let's pop into here so you guys can actually see what's going on. Roughness down a little bit so we get some cool reflections going on. Alright, you can take this down a little bit depending on if you want, but you can leave it just the same as well. Alright, that's good for that. Let's get our box set up here. And I'm going to use the default material for this one, since we've got it there, instead of creating that other one, just to not be wasteful, you know? Alright, for this one, we're just going to give it not much. I'm going to give it a little bit of a bump texture. So add our magic, and I'm going to bring our scale down there. Yeah, like 5 should be good. These are kind of just random numbers at the moment here. We use the period on the number pad to kind of zoom in to that object there. And once we plug this into the normal, should be able to start seeing something happen there. So we'll go up there. Don't want it to be too crazy, so just a little something to give us some nice light reflections there. Nothing too major. Usually I like to bring that strength. It can get overwhelming kind of quick and look pretty nasty easily. Alright, darken that color down a little bit. You can kind of see more of what we got going on. Turn that metallic almost all the way up there. And the specular, we definitely want that. And our roughness down. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put that. Got that. Just a random texture there so you guys can kind of see. And let's get to the magic, baby. New texture in there. And if you watched last time, you'll know this one, but if you didn't, if you select any node, you can hit Shift S to switch out nodes there. I'm going to switch this out to an emission shader. And I'll bump that up to 10 to give us some nice brightness there. Alright, since we got some light, I'm going to go ahead into our rendered view, and why not jump into the camera view there. And look at that. Nice glowing hallway already. But we're here for magic. So let's get into that magic texture. And for this one, we're going to keep the depth at 2. I'm going to bring the scale way down there. And the distortion, I'm going to bump that up. Yeah, right around there. And plug our color into the color, and voila, ta-da! We've got some magic. Head on over to our layout. We can get a better preview of that. Hit play. Just to catch a little bit of it. And with our brightness, since we've got quite a bit of brightness there, one thing we can do, we can either bump that down a little bit. That's not looking too bad, but we can also go back into our bloom settings and bring this down just a little bit. I'm going to type it in so we don't have as much lag. A little bit better there. Alright. And now one thing we can kind of go back in, and if you're catching too much reflections there, you can soften that up, or you can drop the roughness down and get more reflective. Depends on what you're going for and what you look. Alright. Only thing left to do is set your render settings over here in your output properties. If you're going for just one frame, you keep it on the PNG. Alpha, you can get the alpha settings, or just standard to be RGB, or you can drop it down to MPEG video and scroll down a little bit for your encoding options, and you want to change this to MPEG 4. And what I love to do here is the perception lostness quality there. And you are good to go. So you set your location where you want to put it. Come on up here and abracadabra / presto, you got magic. If you like this one, make sure you hit the subscribe, hit your like button, and join us next time. We're going to get a little bit trippy using that displacement trick I just showed you. Make some cool neon glowing effects like this. What? See you next time on It's Magic.